a strange thing took place in the book of Daniel. It is where we find an interesting story about King Nebuchadnezzar and three brave men, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. This story not only shows their strong faith, but also reveals a long-standing truth. Jesus is present even in the Old Testament. Long before his birth in Bethlehem, he was active in the lives of his people, guiding and protecting them. The story of these three men walking through fire represents God's power and love, telling us that he is always with us, no matter how dire our circumstances may seem. Before we begin, be sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video from us. We'll begin by looking at the incredible events that unfolded in the fiery furnace experience and how they connect to the divine ordination of God in the New Testament. Nebuchadnezzar, also known as Nebuchadnezzar II, was a prominent Babylonian king who ruled over a vast empire around 605 BC. He had conquered many nations, including Judah, the southern kingdom of Israel. It is crucial to point out that Babylon was the most powerful empire in the ancient world. King Nebuchadnezzar had built a massive statue of gold, about 90 feet high and 9 feet wide, and set it up in the plain of Dura. He ordered that whenever music was played, everyone in his kingdom had to bow down and worship the statue. Anyone who refused would be thrown into a blazing furnace. King Nebuchadnezzar was a powerful ruler in Babylon, known for his ambition and cruelty. He wanted to expand his empire, conquering lands like Syria and Egypt. In his quest for power, he captured many young Jews, including Daniel, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He had taken many other Jews as captives to Babylon, where he tried to assimilate them into his culture and religion. These young men were taken from their homes and forced to serve in the king's palace. Nebuchadnezzar was not just a conqueror. He was a tyrant who demanded absolute loyalty. He wanted everyone to worship him and the gods of Babylon. The king was proud of his achievements and wanted to ensure that his subjects recognized his authority. He believed that by forcing people to worship his golden idols, he would solidify his power and control over the vast empire. As he ruled, Nebuchadnezzar built a reputation for being fierce and unyielding. He had little patience for those who defied him. The young Jewish men, however, held firm to their beliefs, refusing to abandon their faith in the one true God. This act of defiance would soon lead to a dramatic confrontation. The king's tyranny was about to face a challenge that would test not only the faith of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, but also the very foundations of Nebuchadnezzar's rule. Their story would become a powerful testament to courage, faith, and divine intervention, showing that even in the face of overwhelming odds, God's presence can change everything. In a bold display of his power, King Nebuchadnezzar constructed a massive golden statue, towering over the plains of Dura. This statue was not merely a work of art, it was a symbol of his authority and demand for worship. The king summoned all his officials, leaders, and subjects to gather for the grand unveiling. As the sun shone upon the golden figure, its brilliance captivated the crowd. With a great fanfare, Nebuchadnezzar issued a royal decree. Whenever the music played, everyone was to bow down and worship the statue. Those who refused would face a terrifying punishment, being thrown into a blazing furnace. This threat was meant to instill fear and ensure compliance among his subjects. The king believed that by forcing worship, he could secure loyalty and demonstrate his power over both men and gods. However, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego stood resolute in their faith. They knew that bowing to the statue would betray their God. When the music played, the crowd fell to their knees. But these three men remained standing, their hearts steadfast. Word of their defiance quickly reached Nebuchadnezzar, who was furious. How dare they challenge his authority? In his rage, the king summoned them to his palace, demanding an explanation for their actions. He offered them a second chance, insisting they would be thrown into the furnace if they did not comply. But Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego boldly declared that they would not worship the golden idol, demonstrating their unwavering commitment to their faith in the God of Israel. King Nebuchadnezzar's anger boiled over when he heard the defiance of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He could not comprehend how these young men dared to reject his authority. In a fit of rage, he ordered the furnace to be heated 7 times hotter than usual. The flames roared, and the heat was so intense that it consumed the soldiers who approached it. Despite the terrifying threat, the 3 men stood firm. They faced the king with courage, telling him that their God was able to save them from the fire. However, they also expressed their faith that even if he chose not to save them, they would still not bow down to the golden statue. This declaration of faith astonished Nebuchadnezzar. He had never encountered such unwavering conviction. The king, filled with fury, commanded that the men be bound and thrown into the furnace. As they were cast into the flames, the crowd watched in horror. The heat was unbearable, and it seemed that their fate was sealed. But in that moment of despair, something miraculous happened. As the flames danced and roared, the king peered into the furnace, expecting to see the 3 men consumed by fire. To his shock, he saw not 3, but 4 figures walking unharmed in the flames. The 4th figure appeared like a son of the gods, radiating an otherworldly presence. This moment was a testament to their faith, showing that God was with them in their trial by fire, protecting them from harm. As Nebuchadnezzar gazed into the fiery furnace, his heart raced with disbelief. The sight of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego walking freely amidst the flames was beyond comprehension. Not only were they unharmed, but they appeared calm and unscathed, as if they were taking a stroll rather than facing certain death. The 4th figure, who resembled a son of the gods, radiated a divine presence that filled the king with awe. Realizing that something extraordinary was happening, Nebuchadnezzar called out to the men, urging them to come out of the fire. The 3 men stepped out, and the crowd gasped in amazement. Their clothes were intact, and there was no smell of smoke on them. It was as if they had never been in the furnace at all. The miracle left everyone speechless, including the king. At that moment, Nebuchadnezzar acknowledged the power of the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. He realized that no other God could save in such a miraculous way. This experience transformed him. He praised the God of Israel, declaring that anyone who spoke against him would face severe consequences. The king had witnessed a divine intervention that changed his perspective forever. This event not only showcased God's power, but also highlighted the importance of faith. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego's unwavering trust in God had led to their miraculous rescue. Their story became a powerful testimony of God's presence and protection, illustrating that even in the most dire situations, He is there, ready to intervene in ways we cannot imagine. The miraculous rescue of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego greatly impacted King Nebuchadnezzar. Witnessing their deliverance from the fiery furnace opened his eyes to the true power of the God of Israel. No longer was he the proud ruler demanding worship. He became a humbled king, acknowledging that there was a God greater than himself. After the 3 men emerged from the flames unharmed, Nebuchadnezzar declared, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego." He recognized that their faith had saved them and that their God had intervened in a way that he could not explain. The king was so moved that he issued a decree stating that anyone who spoke against the God of Israel would be punished. He understood that the power demonstrated in the furnace was not just a miracle, but a clear sign of God's supremacy. In a divinely arranged turn of events, Nebuchadnezzar promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego within the kingdom. They were not just survivors of a trial, they were now honored leaders in Babylon. Their faith had not only saved them, but also transformed the heart of a king. This was a testament to the impact of unwavering belief and the presence of God in the lives of his followers. The king's transformation serves as a reminder that God can change hearts, even those of the most powerful rulers. It illustrates how faith can lead to unexpected outcomes, not just for individuals, but for entire nations. The story of these three men walking through fire became an impactful legacy of courage, faith, and divine intervention that would resound throughout the generations. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is a vivid illustration of how Jesus is present throughout the Old Testament. While he was born in Bethlehem many years later, his essence and divine nature were evident long before. The Old Testament is filled with prophetic shadows and symbols that point to Christ's eventual coming, and this story is no exception. Throughout the scriptures, we see glimpses of Jesus in various forms. For instance, when Abraham was about to sacrifice his son Isaac, a ram was provided as a substitute, foreshadowing Christ's ultimate sacrifice for humanity. Similarly, the presence of the fourth figure in the furnace represents the pre-incarnate Christ, who walks alongside his people in their trials and tribulations. In the story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, the appearance of the fourth man in the fire signifies God's unfailing presence. It reassures us that when we face our own fiery trials, we are never alone. Jesus is with us, providing strength and comfort in our darkest moments. Moreover, the faith of these three men exemplifies the hope and trust that believers are called to have in God. Their story encourages us to stand firm in our convictions, knowing that God is always present and ready to help us through every challenge. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego not only speaks of the power of faith, but also helps us remember that Jesus is present throughout the entire Bible, fulfilling prophecies and serving as the cornerstone of God's plan for salvation. This connection between the Old and New Testaments enriches our understanding of God's character and his love for humanity. The story of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego is a powerful example of faith, courage, and perseverance. Their refusal to worship a false god in the face of death demonstrates the strength of their beliefs and the depth of their commitment to the God of Israel. Even when threatened with the ultimate punishment, they stood firm, trusting that God would protect them. Their miraculous deliverance from the fiery furnace speaks about how God is always with us, even in our most challenging times. The presence of Christ in the fire not only saved them, but also transformed the heart of King Nebuchadnezzar, showcasing the profound impact of faith on individuals and nations alike. This story foreshadows the ultimate sacrifice and resurrection of Jesus Christ, who would later face his own trial. Just as he was with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he promises to be with us through every trial we face. In our moments of fear and uncertainty, we can take comfort in knowing that we are never alone. God's love and protection surround us, guiding us through the fires of life. Before you go, be sure to leave this video a like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so that you never miss a video from us. Thank you for watching, and God bless you.